Okay, I think everybody looks comfortable enough. So welcome and thanks for coming to Waves blockchain presentation. Right, my name is Alfred and I'm part of the Waves community here in New York City. Here, the Waves community is not that large, but we have people from all over the world who try and contribute, in whichever ways we can because of the vision that we believe in, which is the Waves blockchain. So, we are delighted to announce that this summer, Waves will be traveling the world with our summer road trip, where we will be traveling to, starting from here to places like Amsterdam and so forth. So Waves CEO, Sasha Ivanov, will be hosting meetups at 5 of the globe's biggest tech centers, New York, Amsterdam, London, Berlin, and Moscow. The aim of the series is to fuel the great blockchain debate and discussions around the technology, where it's currently at and where it's going to be in the future. So Sasha will discuss the latest applications of blockchain across different industry verticals, the regulatory environment in Europe, Russia, and the US, and how regional factors such as Brexit will impact blockchain innovation and the funding and recruitment landscape. So as you guys know, the regulatory environment around blockchain technology is a very sensitive one. So one of the things that Waves blockchain does is from the very start, right, has a clear focus, clear priority in ensuring that not only is our blockchain, compliant fully, but that any additional ICO that wants to, use Waves to create their own cryptocurrencies will be equally as compliant. And that is one of the, the main strengths and one of the biggest ways that Waves stands out from, some of the larger cryptocurrency blockchains out there. Okay, so today, Sasha, the Waves platform founder and one of the most influential people in the blockchain space, will take us through blockchain's origins, answer the fundamental questions surrounding the technology, the debate, blockchain's future beyond the cryptocurrencies. So with that said, I would like to invite Sasha to give his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello guys, it's a pleasure to be here. This is my first time in the US, first day in the US actually, so bear with my English, yes, please. And how much do you know about Waves actually? So I basically have two presentations. One is a generic presentation about Waves, and another one is some kind of description of how we see the development of blockchain technology. So if you wanna hear something more about Waves, maybe let's start with this one. It's just a general presentation, because I can see some people that I know actually, but some people are new to me. So maybe, if you don't mind, let's start with just general description of what we have, because we are pretty well known in some other parts of the world. And as I said, this is my first time here, and naturally we're gonna expand internationally. And this is just the beginning. So probably let's start with a generic presentation. And I would ask to put this presentation. Masha, can you yeah. So what is Waves? If you don't know actually, Waves is a blockchain. So it's similar to Ethereum conceptually. Technically it's absolutely different. And we are trying to create a system which can be used by real-world applications, by real-world business right here, right now. We are not so futuristic as Ethereum is. We are trying to be focusing more on real-world applications. So that's why we are trying to create the fastest system, the cheapest system, and the most usable system. We are live for 2 years already, so I've been in blockchain space for maybe 5 years, so we are not new. And we had also our ICO, but it happened long ago. It happened already 2 years ago. We raised quite a lot of money, actually. For a while, we were the second biggest ICO after Ethereum. We raised close to 30,000 Bitcoin 2 years ago, before it was so popular to do ICOs, before anybody knew, actually, like in mainstream, what ICOs are. We raised 30,000 Bitcoins, and we have lots of funds, which actually secures our development and which makes us confident in our future. So let's start with this presentation. Yeah. So what we have now? So we have a blockchain, and on top of that blockchain, we have a decentralized exchange, which is probably the most usable and the fastest still, because you have so many startups that are trying to create a decentralized exchange, but our exchange is in production for about a year, and thousands of transactions are taking each day are taking place each day there. So we have a very nice wallet. You can install it from wavesplatform.com. I think this is one of the most beautiful cryptocurrency wallets. We had a wallet which was not so good, but I always thought that it is great to have a wallet which is similar to traditional banking applications. And if you install it, you will probably understand that our goal is to create something which is similar to traditional online banking. So you won't tell a difference between a cryptocurrency, wallet, or application and your traditional online bank. This is our goal. It's very easy to install. You have also applications for mobile phones. And our goal is to offer a system which is very easy to use, which doesn't require that you understand how blockchain works under the hood. You shouldn't care at all about how it works, because you don't care about how your online banking application works. You just use it, and you don't care about like the servers and encryption that your online banking uses. You just use it. The same here. You don't have to care about consensus algorithms or understand cryptography. You just need to use the blockchain technology. And I think this is what actually is lacking now in the ecosystem, because all these applications are quite complicated. Also, it's quite important to have decentralized trading right on top of the platform, because we have a very strange situation now when we trade and we deal with decentralized tokens in a centralized way, because you trade your cryptocurrency at centralized exchanges. Binance, Poloniex, Bittrex, they're all centralized, and it can't be like that forever, because you can't deal with decentralized objects in a centralized manner. It has to end. And you can see this through so many startups that are trying to create decentralized exchanges appearing now. Also, it's quite important to have a high transaction speed, because as you know, in Bitcoin you have around 2 transactions per second. In Ethereum you have a dozen transactions per second. But it's not enough, because like big payment networks such as Visa or MasterCard, they actually have thousands of transactions per second. And we need to have something similar in our blockchain systems to compete and to offer something that can be used in real world applications. Because you can't build any system, any production-ready system, any system which can be used in the real world if it supports 2 transactions per second. It can't be like this. So currently we have the fastest blockchain in production, which is verifiable actually. It's quite easy to verify this information. There are many blockchains that are like in testing phase, or they promise to have more transactions than we have currently. But working systems, if you consider working systems, we are the fastest now, because we can support up to 100 transactions per second, and it's working. People can do this. You can send 100 transactions per second right here, right now, by just doing, for example, an airdrop of your token that you issued. Also, we have a nice feature which is similar to banking deposits. You can lease your waves to a miner, and a miner shares his or her profits with you. It's very similar to bank deposit. Yeah, I think that this approach to mining will replace proof of work, because proof of work is some kind of a temporary solution which is similar to like a steam engine. There was a steam engine, and then combustion engine came, and no one is using steam engines any longer because there's a development of technology. And proof of work is just the first step, and after that we'll have a better consensus algorithm. Proof of stake is much better, and leasing that we have here is built on top of proof of stake and allows people to participate in mining without buying hardware, without paying for electricity. So it's a new approach to mining. As you know, in Ethereum, if you follow the development of cryptocurrency, you know that in Ethereum they are going to introduce something similar, but we had it right from the start, right from the launch of our system. We had proof of stake, and we didn't need to spend money on electricity or buying expensive hardware. So proof of stake, in my opinion, is the future of consensus algorithms, and we had it right from the start. Some statistics. We have a system that works since like years. For example, DEX has a daily volume of around $2 million. Dozens of tokens are being traded daily. People have issued 15,000 tokens on our platform. Probably, I don't know if you know this, it might seem actually quite strange to some of you, but we are the second biggest platform in terms of funds raised on our blockchain. Ethereum is, of course, this is the first, and by wide margin, so it's hard to compete with Ethereum, of course, but we have close to $300 million raised on our platform, and which makes us the second biggest platform in terms of ICO. Of course, we are not an ICO platform because some people think that Waves is an ICO platform. It's not so. We are not an ICO platform. We are just a generic blockchain on which you can build different applications. One of them is simple token issuance and selling your token to investors, which is ICO. But we are not limited to ICOs, of course. Many startups are trying to create decentralized exchange because decentralized exchange is a way to trade that is going to replace traditional centralized exchanges. And people realize this because you can't deal with those decentralized tokens in a centralized manner. Why our DEX is better? Our approach combines like the best of the two worlds. We have a centralized part of our system, which is a centralized matcher. It is a service that puts orders from different traders together and matches them. So it's centralized. But the actual value transfer, the actual transfer of tokens takes place on the blockchain. So once the orders are matched, everybody can verify that they have been matched correctly, and the actual value transfer takes place. And the correctness of this transfer is verified by blockchain rules. So there is a combination of centralization, which makes trading very fast, and decentralization, which makes trading transparent, and you don't have to trust your tokens to any third party. Your tokens are in your wallet at all times. It's a great combination of both worlds, actually. So if you install our client, you can see that manual trading in our application is just as fast as trading at Poloniex, for example, or Bittrex. You won't see any difference, but it's totally decentralized, at least what concerns value transfer. You can also do algorithmic trading, bot trading. Maybe it's not so fast as with centralized exchanges, but it's also doable. But as I said, manual trading is completely the same as with centralized exchanges. We have a very nice trading application. We're working on it every day, many updates, and I think that by the end of summer, we'll have one of the best trading applications, not only in cryptocurrency space, but just a general trading application which can compete with like your online broker. This is how our matcher works. It's quite simple. I won't go into those details because if you want, you can actually read about that in our wiki or somewhere else. This is our leasing scheme, which leasing allows you to share the profits, allows miners to share their profits with users. So if you have some waves, you can lease them out to a miner. Miner uses them to mine, to actually confirm transactions, and he or she just shares the profits with you. It's very similar to bank deposit. I think in future it will somehow replace bank deposits. This scheme where you use your money to actually somehow validate transactions. So this deposit scheme will make sense in terms of cryptocurrency. And this is just the first step in that direction. Also, we have so-called stablecoins or fiat gateways. They are working. We're not the first who did this. Probably the first company who did this was Ripple with their gateways. But we have the same scheme, and so many startups are trying to replicate this now. But we have this for like maybe in a year and a half. So we support US dollar, we support euro, Turkish lira on our blockchain. So you can transfer not only cryptocurrency value, but you can transfer USD dollar, euro on our blockchain. It's totally compliant, legal. We have a company with a payment license in Europe. And we are trying to be as compliant as possible. Of course, it's a very, the whole ecosystem is moving very fast, and it's hard, you know, to be compliant at all times because just the regulation can't actually catch up with the development of technology. But we are trying to be as compliant as possible, and our fiat gateways are completely compliant. They work according to European regulations, and we can support USD dollar and euro on our blockchain. So if you install our application, you can see that you can trade in our DEX, not only cryptocurrency, but fiat money against Bitcoin or against any tokens that issued on our platform or against Waves. So fiat is an integral part of our platform. And I think it's like a natural development because I can see that like the both worlds, the banking world, the world of cryptocurrency, won't be always too far apart. They're gonna merge into something united. Yeah, so because there is some, of course, hostility from banks toward cryptocurrency world, but it's changing. So potentially we'll have something that we won't have two different worlds. We'll have banks working on the blockchain. So this is the first direction. This is the first step in that direction. And I can see that many banks are interested in issuing some kind of stable coins and in supporting fiat tokens on their blockchain. So we support not only fiat gateways, but also crypto gateways. You can store and trade in a Waves wallet not only Waves or Waves tokens, but also Ethereum, Bitcoin, Zcash, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash now. And Dash and Monero is coming. Actually, about Ripple and NEM, I'm not so sure yet. So it's stored in a centralized way now, so it's not trustless. As you know, trustlessness is a quite important feature in cryptocurrency systems when you don't have to trust any third party. It's not trustless yet because it is stored in a centralized way. But now we are launching smart contracts, and there is such a thing which is called atomic swap, which allows you to swap your coins with another user in a fully trustless way. and we will replace our current system with atomic swap system, which will make our cryptocurrency gateways trustless. So you won't have to trust any centralized party. You will be able to swap your tokens directly with the tokens of another user. So this is what we are doing now. Very important thing for us now is smart contracts, because I told you about our advantages, about the speed of transactions, about DEX, but we are not Ethereum yet. Yeah, Ethereum is the leader. Why is it happening? Actually, because we didn't have smart contracts. What is smart contracts? Smart contracts is a business logic of your application put onto the blockchain. So it's not only simple transfer of tokens on the blockchain, but you need to have some programs running on the blockchain. Otherwise, you can't do that much. And smart contracts are very important. It's very complicated to create a smart contract system which works well, so to say, because you have Ethereum, which has a quite basic approach. It has its limits, and actually it's quite hard to create something new. And we don't want to replicate this. We want to come up with a better solution. For now, we came up with so-called non-Turing complete approach. What is this? In Ethereum, you have so-called full Turing completeness, where potentially you can do any operation on the blockchain. In reality, it doesn't work that way, because you have gas. You have to pay for the operations, which makes this Turing completeness incomplete, because you are limited by the costs of gas, or by the costs of this thing that you have to pay for actually running your code on the blockchain. What we have now, we have a non-Turing complete approach. So there is no gas, there is no entity which is introduced for paying for smart contracts. You just pay a price of a normal transaction. And you can cover like 95% of what Ethereum has without introducing any new concepts such as gas and similar and such. After this, by the end of the year, we'll have a full Turing complete approach, which can be actually coded in any language. So we won't have something like Solidity, Ethereum language for smart contracts. You'll be able to code smart contracts in any language, in C, Go, whatever. It will be compiled into the code which blockchain understands, so to say, and which actually is a quite nice feature, because you won't need to learn a new language if you're a coder. You can use your old language to build applications on the blockchain. We'll have many other things by the end of the year. So Atomic Swap, we'll have a huge update of our mobile applications, which are quite fine now, actually. You can install them from Android or iOS application store. You can, for example, trade right in the mobile application, and it's a nice feature. Many other things, hardware wallet integration, multi-signature. Now we're launching such thing, for example, where you can pay fees for blockchain transfers in any token. You can issue a token, and you can have people pay fees for transactions in your token. But you have to deposit some amount of Waves to be able to do that. So it's a nice approach, because we had this before. Waves probably is the only blockchain where you can pay fees in any token. There was some, we tried to create a system, but it was not so stable, and we had to introduce this approach where you have to put some collateral or some deposit to actually have people pay the fees in any token. But it still makes us unique, because no other blockchain has this. So let's talk a little about our ecosystem, because it's quite big and it's growing. We have, as you know, probably actually you don't. So we are expanding internationally, and we have a partner project, so to say. There was an ICO running on Waves, which was called Primal Base. this project is developing in a very fast way. It's a co-working network based on tokens. So you buy a token and you have access to all the networks, to all the locations of the network. It's like a tokenization of membership. So they now have offices in Amsterdam, Berlin, opening up an office in London, and here in New York. So around July, as far as I understand. And we're going to be present in all those locations. So we now have an office in Amsterdam. We'll have an office in Berlin quite soon. London and New York are coming. After that, we'll have Singapore and maybe Switzerland. I actually recommend you to take a look at Primalbase, because I think this is one of the rare examples of really using blockchain technology in some other areas other than like IT or like some kind of, you know, some kind of IT projects, because you really use blockchain technology for tokenization of membership in co-working business. It's quite interesting and it works, and you have actual co-workings in many countries. So it's something tangible, something you can really touch, which is quite different from the usual way people do blockchain projects. So there is this infographics about our ecosystem. Maybe it's too messy like that, so I'll break it down into its constituent parts. So what we have as a part of our ecosystem. For example, we have a liquidity fund which provides liquidity for all the tokens that are issued on Waves platform. It's a problem usually because many people are doing ICOs, but once ICO is over, people forget that they have to actually do something else. Yeah, ICO is done, it was successful, and it's fine. Yeah, and there are two sides of the story. Of course, you have to develop the product, but you also have to provide some liquidity for your token. If you develop a product and there is no liquidity, people get frustrated. They just sell your token, and the token price just falls down, and you have some issues with your community because they want your token price to grow, but there's no liquidity, and people who want to sell, they just actually dump the tokens and they just crash the price. So you have to provide some liquidity, and you have Liquidity Wave project which provides automated liquidity for tokens issued on Waves platform. So you pay some fee in a liquid token, and you get automated liquidity for your token, which makes us unique. Something similar is offered by Bancor. Our approach is a little bit simpler, but I think more efficient at this stage. So this is explanation of liquidity token, quite technical, so we'll just keep this. Also, we have Waves Lab, which is incubator and for an accelerator, because some combination of both for projects that use Waves technology. It provides consultancy, it provides financial support, it provides guidelines for doing ICO campaigns. So we have close to 200 projects who applied for membership, who applied for some kind of support. We have many ICOs that took place on Waves and were supported by Waves Lab. It's a quite active project that helps people use Waves technology in the right way. Another thing which is quite important for the ecosystem is Better Tokens Association. It's bettertokens.org. It's a Swiss association which provides tokenization guidelines, tokenization standards for mostly for doing ICOs in a legally correct way. mostly probably in Europe. Yeah, so because in the US situation is a little bit different, but we'll actually factor that in too. It's a working association with many members. Yeah, it's fully registered, and we were going to announce it. The official launch will be announced quite soon, actually. But it's registered. You can find it in the registry of Swiss companies, and there are guidelines written for running ICO campaigns. And I think it's quite important thing because regulators are having big issues with adopting some kind of a correct approach for ICO campaigns. They have basically no idea about how they should approach this. And current situation is quite strange. Actually, as far as I understand the situation, it all was somehow initiated by SEC when they differentiated between equity and utility tokens, which is quite artificial because most utility tokens that should provide some utility, they're also security tokens because when people do ICOs, they don't have any actual product. So whatever tokens they issue, they are all securities in a way. Yeah, so they are some kind of a promise that they will build something which is going to have utility, but it doesn't have any utility yet. So it's basically all security tokens. And you have to have some guidelines for those types of crowdfunding campaigns because you don't have any laws otherwise. And community has to regulate this. Otherwise, regulators are going to be all over it and they're going to just ban it eventually. So we need to provide some kind of a alternative approach which will allow normal good players to do normal campaigns and will allow us to filter out bad actors. We have been in talks with Singapore regulator probably from the spring last year about launching a fully compliant ICO platform. We have some agreement with them, and this thing is going to be launched this summer, probably by the end of summer. It's quite slow in Singapore. Probably this is not the best jurisdiction because it seemed to be the best one, but they're moving slower than, for example, Japan. But still, it's quite interesting because it's a great hub in Southeast Asia, and you have good connections to the neighboring countries. And we're going to be launching this with some of our bigger ICOs. So this Tokenomica platform is going to support one of the ICOs on Waves, and this is going to be the launch of the platform. And it's going to happen around August because we're going to have a couple big ICOs on Waves soon. Regional hubs, I told you about that. So wait a little. So just closing remarks, and I'll be happy to reply to all the questions you might have. So what we are trying to build and why we are different from Ethereum. As I tried to tell you, we are trying to build something which can be used by real-world businesses right now, because there is a huge interest, because we have been bombarded with different requests for implementation of blockchain technology. But people don't really realize that the blockchain technology is not so actually mature to be applicable for real-world applications for big enterprise or for public services. Another project which runs somehow parallel to Waves is a permissioned blockchain. We are launching a permissioned blockchain which is based on Waves technology, and which is going to have some kind of synergy to Waves, to open blockchain. Because unfortunately, you can't build everything on open blockchains now, because they don't provide a sufficient guarantee of immutability of your data or security of the decentralized computation. And it won't pass through scrutiny of any big company or of any big like ministry, because their IT department will say that risks are just too high. You can't build a registry for real estate on Ethereum, for example, on a state level, because it's weird, it won't work. And we have to have some kind of a transitory solution which will somehow in future be replaced by a better approach. But for now, we could have some like, intermediary solution, some kind of a permissioned closed blockchain based on what open blockchain offer, based on what they have achieved. So we are building this closed blockchain, and this is a very big project, which I hopefully will be used by many big businesses and public services. And we are in talks with many like countries about using the technology. This is going to be launched in summer this year. So our goal is to create something that works for the real world, because there is a huge demand. People need transparency, they need decentralization, and they can see this in blockchain, but when they look closer, they realize that they can't do this because it doesn't provide any guarantees that are needed by real world. So our goal is to make this work, and it's not only our goal. I think the goal of the whole cryptocurrency community this year and the next year is to prove that blockchain technology can be used not only for doing simple value transfer, Bitcoin, or doing ICOs, but there is some kind of a bigger value, some kind of something that can be really used for example, like state-level registries or for storing like healthcare data in a secure way. So this is the goal of the whole community, and hopefully we will make sure that people will believe and will keep believing in the blockchain technology, because there is some kind of some kind of a feeling that eventually it might not work the way it was supposed to work. So I still think that blockchain is great. It has changed everything, and the only thing which is needed now is to make it work for everything, not only for ICOs and value transfer, but for everything. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be ready to answer.
Thank you for that presentation. There's a question just really more on the ERC20 tokens that you might be offering. And can you go over how they're wrapped, like when the W is in front of that, the token, and when do you think the competition with like IDEX, once those tokens are on the platform, that Waves will be much broadly known?
Yeah. As you probably understand, we don't have ERC20 like natively, because we have a different approach to tokens. So they are like native tokens are like a basic entity of the platform. They are not built through smart contracts. They are like a basic building block, so to say. So we don't have ERC20, but we will have some kind of an application which will allow you to swap your ERC20 token into a corresponding Waves token once we have atomic swaps. And of course it will make Waves more usable, because Ethereum is the leader and we have to actually have that in mind. Yeah. So it will be ready maybe this fall, and you will be able to swap all supported ERC20 tokens into Waves tokens, and the other way around. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mark.
Thank you. I'm interested in the use of blockchain technology outside of currency. So in the realm, I'm going to give you a hypothetical, and just I'm curious if you have any ideas of how this would work. So if you wanted to use it for, let's say, intellectual property, okay, so let's say you wanted to have millions of people share ideas, have transparency, also have that aggregated into into categories and separate out levels of ideas for viability. Is that something that blockchain could be used for? I know it's very theoretical, but
Yeah, for IP rights protection, sure. There are many projects. I'm not sure about your specific task, but for dealing with IP rights, definitely. So I know like a dozen of projects that are trying to do this, but it's not more about technology, it's more about regulation at this stage, because you have very different laws all around the world that deal with intellectual rights. So I'm not sure about your particular setup, but of course blockchain can change many things. But as in many applications of blockchain technology, the question here is not technical at all. It's more about the legality and the approach to IP rights protection in general.
if we took the rights protection off, because that maybe transparency is the way to go, where everyone can see all the ideas, then this would be a very good technology for that.
But you have to probably, it's not about the blockchain, but about the architecture or system, like in general.
Yeah.
So blockchain can add some value here, but probably there has to be some unifying idea here. Yeah, and blockchain can just add some value to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question regarding the scalability of Waves. So because one of the beauty of Waves compared to Ethereum is the fee, the gas is really low for the transaction. And I know there's coming on testnet about data transaction. So in the future, when Turing company smart contract come to being, there must be a lot of data writing onto the blockchain. So do you plan to get like a higher fee, or like Ethereum does? Because if no, the scalability, I mean the data size of the blockchain will be increasing exponentially, possibly.
Yeah, hopefully the idea here is that the fee can be regulated by miners. So if Waves becomes too expensive, miners will be ready to have lower fees, like in Waves, because it will have the same value in fiat money. So this idea, there has to be some kind of equilibrium that can be reached through some kind of decentralized miners voting. And we also have some kind of a voting procedure, which we actually have now. And it will be enhanced and will allow miners to set the fee which actually satisfies miners and users at the same time.
Thank you. I have one more question, sorry. So about this, about the security of the DEX. So do you think it's much more secure than the centralized one? Like, because of Binance, the centralized exchange got hacked easily.
Yeah, definitely it is more secure because you don't have to trust your money to anybody, and it makes it more secure.
Yeah, but like similar to DPoS, I think the LPoS on Waves, once there's some super nodes, if you got a voting and some super nodes got at least a lot of Waves, if that's more than like 51% of the whole market cap, is that possible that
yes, but this is like the limitation of open blockchains now. So they don't provide immutability guarantee. People don't realize this. But if you have like more than 25% of all hashes in Bitcoin, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And this is a problem here. And for example, Vitalik Buterin, he's right in this because he says about immutability a lot. He speaks about immutability a lot, and he understands that this technology won't be accepted by like big banks before we have until we have some kind of immutability that can be proven. Now it doesn't exist because As you probably know, if bigger mining Bitcoin pools unite their efforts, they can do whatever they want. Yeah. So it's like now it's not a technical consensus, it's like social consensus. They just agreed that they wouldn't do that because it would hurt their business. So this is a problem now.
Thank you very much.
I have not even a question to degree. It's more like a wish. And wish is to see more space with not only like a primal base where you have presence, where you have real team of talented people like you have in Moscow for many reasons. Main reason is lots and lots of competition. Even if you look a couple years ago when you just started, it was not as much. Now we look in China, Korea, you name it, and it's not only like a crypto project, it's platforms for smart contract and a lot of competition. And to get more talented people and open office here in New York, you name it, in Europe, around the globe, and same time get a talent from local communities, because it's so much in the front, smart contracts, security. You already name a lot of what can be done, it should be done, and probably all we want to see you ahead of competition. And that's why not only like an open office and get a lots of talent to work for you.
That's why we are here actually. So we are expanding internationally, and of course we'll be doing this. And also we'll have development offices not only in Russia but also in other countries, definitely. And as for competition, I would like to add that there have to be new ideas actually, because what we can see now is just rehashing of Bitcoin ideas. We don't have any new ideas yet. Not only us, but the whole community. And it can change, but for now, I don't see any serious competition, I would say. So everybody's doing more or less the same, and everybody's waiting for some kind of a breakthrough which will be comparable to what Bitcoin did, because it changed everything, and now we are waiting for something similar, which will take the whole ecosystem to a new level.
Hey, Sasha. So I think it is quite clear that Waves works more as an ecosystem rather than just a simple blockchain. We're working on a lot of different things. So my question really is, what is like one thing that you're most excited about that's coming in the near future? And obviously, Waves has been around for like about 2 years. What do you think is the next catalyst that will propel like Waves into perhaps like the top 20 or maybe even the top 10
actually,
cryptocurrencies?
I have high hopes for permission chains now, because they're not like real blockchains in a way, but they have some combination of advantages of a blockchain and security of traditional systems. And you can test many things on those blockchains that can be used later in open blockchains. So we are starting this closed blockchain now, and we'll have some synergy, because we can launch, for example, some smart contracts approach first on the closed blockchain, and then we can transfer it to the open blockchain. And why I'm excited about this, once you have a system that is secure and provides some kind of immutability guarantee, you could offer it to big enterprises and to big businesses. And there's a huge demand. They're all building some prototypes, but there are not so many production systems. Basically, there are none, actually, to be honest. So many prototypes, hundreds of prototypes, but you don't have working systems in banks that they can have some marketing. They can say that they implemented the blockchain, but if you look closer, you understand that it's not true. And now we'll have such systems that might not be like perfect, complete blockchains, but they still change things a lot because you have decentralization, you have transparency, and you have security. So I have really high hopes for permissioned and like closed blockchains that can be implemented into banks and public services, enterprise level solutions right now.
Thank you again for a second question. Can you go over a little bit the community of tokens with like Waves community tokens and miners rewards and Liquid? I don't know if Waves Go is on there, but what the family of products is and how that came about versus other blockchains. I don't know if they're going that route where it's a family of products and tokens.
So, for example, Waves community token is meant to be used as a voting mechanism because we want to make the process of filtering out bad ICOs, for example, or the process of vetting projects on Waves decentralized. So there should be no centralized party which said that this ICO is good and that one is bad, invest in this and don't invest in that. It has to be decided by the whole community. And Waves community is rewarded to those who hold Waves for a certain period of time. And through Waves community token, you will be able to vote for features of the Waves platform, and you will be able to vote for example, good ICOs. So it's some kind of a decentralized rating agency. And because centralized rating agencies can be manipulated, it's obvious. Like ICO ratings which you have now, they exist, but they are some kind of a joke because you can bribe them. Yeah, you can just pay them money and they will put your ICO on top. It doesn't work this way. It has to be decentralized, and this is the goal of Waves community token. We will have voting system by the end of summer, and after that, the whole process of, for example, adding tokens to DEX applications, because anybody can issue a token, but it doesn't mean that it has to be automatically added to DEX. Yeah, because the only idea here can be, the only idea the issuer might have is to trick some people into buying his token. Our goal is to make this process decentralized, and if you issue a token, there can be some community voting that will vet your token and will actually allow it to be traded. So this is our goal. And as for MRT, in proof-of-stake systems, you don't issue new tokens through miner bonuses. So as Bitcoin, miners are rewarded with a certain amount of Bitcoins for creating a new block. In proof-of-stake systems, all the tokens are issued in the Genesis block. And it makes mining process actually not so lucrative, and you have to incentivize miners to actually mine. That's why we issued MRT, and it will also be used for miners voting for features on the Waves platform by the end of summer. Any questions? So I think it's over. So let's have some discussion maybe, and let's have some and let's have some drinks and food. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in person now. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.